Good day, Golden Key family. Welcome at this wonderful webinar. We are going to learn more about POPIA 360 today with a presentation on how to learn more about managing compliance as an ongoing journey. And with us, we have Jason Schultz, who is the Managing Director of Khwezi Holdings. So while we are admitting all the attendees, please feel free to put your name and surname in the chat function so that we are able to welcome you and also see where you are logging in from. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you that we can spend this time together. We are going to have a wonderful time learning more about POPIA 360, very contemporary subject. I see we've got Gillian from Kempton Park. Welcome, Gillian, to this session. Thank you. Everybody joining this morning, please feel free to put your name and surname in the chat function. I see someone typing there, and we are also admitting some new attendees. Nadia Comfort is typing, and we'll see where she is logging in from. Wonderful. She is from Port Elizabeth. Wonderful. Welcome. We've got Cindy Jonas from Sandton. Welcome, Cindy. We've got a good geographical representation here today in this POPIA 360 webinar. Please be so kind as to put your name and surname in the chat function so that we can welcome you. I see more people joining. We'll just give them a moment. While we are admitting the attendees, we just want to mention that we are going to be conducting a Menti survey at the end of the session. So please don't leave before the end of the session and make sure that you do fill in the Menti survey. If you are logging in from your computer, you will notice at the top of the screen, next to the three dots that say more, there is a Mentimeter icon. If you click on that icon and enter if you click on that icon, you are able to complete the Menti survey with us. Should you be joining with a cell phone, you're welcome to go to menti.com. It is in the chat function and enter the code 65525584. Just a few questions for us for a survey. So without further ado, we just want to welcome the Managing Director, Jason Schultz of Khwezi Holdings. He's going to be conducting a presentation on POPIA 360, and he's going to teach us on how to manage compliance as an ongoing journey. I would like to read his biography before we hand over to him. Jason has a successful track record of working in the information technology sector in various roles since 1993. Jason successfully started his first business in 2002 before selling his business to Nashua in 2007. During his 9 years as National Solutions Manager, he gained immense expertise at various levels from working with government sectors, corporate mid-market and SMMEs. He identified an opportunity to use his knowledge and skills gained to improve on services rendered. Khwezi Holdings Pty Ltd was born, specializing in law, compliance, content management, and legal cost recovery. So we can see that we are in good hands this morning. He will be conducting a Q&A at the end of the session. So during the course of the session, please feel free to put your questions in the chat function and we will address them after his presentation. We are handing over to you, Jason. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction and also for the opportunity to present to all of you guys. I get really excited to talk about POPI. Just to give you guys a little bit more background about the platform I'm showing you now on your screen. Just let me know if you guys can see it. You can just put it in the chat as well. I can zoom in and zoom out if it's too big. You can let us guys know. But yeah, just to give you a little bit of background, this is a cloud-based platform. It's a very mature product. It's been in the market probably for about 5-6 years now. It was originally designed, believe it or not, for the European market to cater for GDPR, and has since obviously been adapted, obviously, for the South African market to deal with POPIA. The beautiful thing with the product, it's been developed in South Africa, so it's a proudly South African product, which we are very chuffed to have them on our doorstep, because you know, obviously from an ongoing support and access to the compliance directors and developers locally, they're able to obviously help us and advance anything if we need to. So if there's any changes to legislation, which I'm sure there will be soon enough, and any updates to the legislation, obviously the platform takes care of that for you. You're going to find that, so without further ado, I'm going to take you through it. One of my partners, I must make mention, is a guy by the name of Francis Cronier. Francis is one of the key stakeholders, one of the advocates who actually developed the POPIA legislation. So we really are in good hands. We have access to, or I have access to Francis to help us when we get into any difficult questions and stuff like that around certain laws pertaining to POPIA. So I'm going to take you through the application. The awesome thing with this application, it deals basically with the 8 principles of POPIA. Okay. Now, the 8 principles of POPIA are not visible on the actual application, but as you start going through the various areas, you'll see those principles come up. Okay. If you'd like to know more about those 8 principles, I can share what they are with you, and we can obviously discuss them at the end of the demo as well. Okay, so the nice thing with the POPIA, this platform, is it gives you a 360-degree view of your entire POPIA project. What we're seeing in the marketplace is that a lot of people do not understand what POPIA actually is and what the requirements are to manage a POPIA program within your organization. It's an ongoing process, okay? So give you a great example. One of our legal customers gave me the other day was, he says, where you might find yourself compliant on a Friday morning, he says by the afternoon, he says you could actually be non-compliant by a simple change of business process or introduction of new technology, whatever that may be. He says you got to keep that going. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to take you through the application. I'm just going to give you a sort of high-level overview, and then we'll dip into each area and I'll show you what it's about. You'll see it's broken into 3 or 4 major parts. Okay, so your first level is basically your operational level, which deals with your compliance audit. So there's a series of task lists and checklists that we provide you already with that are taken directly out of POPIA, and it allows us to go through those tasks. Your compliance monitor is a reporting tool. It also becomes your audit tool. So if at any given point in time, if I need to provide a report or have a quick glance to see where we are in our compliance journey, I can run a report, and I can download that report either in PDF or in Excel. Your second layer, or second part, should I say, is your, I call this this is the heartbeat of POPIA, okay? Your data mapping deals with many principles within POPIA that's a requirement. So things like this processing purposes, accountability, the lawful basis for holding certain information around around personal information. Your governance will deal with areas like your privacy notice. Your privacy notice is your ticket into the game. So if we are tendering for new business, even for us, when we're tendering for different business at different levels within corporates or SME, mid-market companies or government businesses, we have to have a privacy notice. Without a privacy notice, we won't be allowed to tender. The privacy notice is essentially tells you, or tells your customers how you manage your personal information within your organization. Keeping in mind that personal information doesn't exist just about me and you and our personal information. It also deals with business information, okay, and the responsibility of managing that information. And then other areas, most importantly, also in here is employee privacy notice, how we manage our employee information, as well as we provide you with a whole bunch of templates relating to policy documentation and stuff like that a business would need. And then stakeholder communication is the communication to your staff, okay? So all my policy documents are essentially managed through one central portal. It'll be emailed out to my staff, and I can visually see which staff have read and accepted those policy documents, okay? And I'll show you what that looks like just now. And then, of course, just as important as everywhere else is your operator management, okay? So operators within POPIA refers to suppliers, and then we obviously need to load those, and then your information sharing. So if your business, for example, has bi-directional sharing of information, let's say it is a property company and you share information with private property and vice versa, maybe you're an estate agent, there's information, there's bidirectional information flowing between yourself and them on a regular basis. And similarly for Golden Key and their members, for example, and their customers, information sharing agreement would be relevant. Your ongoing process, okay, this is largely overlooked and misunderstood by a lot of people, okay? So your ongoing processes are probably, yeah, I think it's going to catch a lot of people out when it comes to auditing by the information regulator. And that, by the way, is not a if they're going to audit you, it's more like when they're going to audit you. I think there has already been a process. I mean, they've ramped up their staff to actually start that process of doing audits. So I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. But privacy impact assessment is key critical for any environment. So if I introduce any new technology, it doesn't have to be technology. It can be a new filing cabinet. For I'm using that as an example. I need to take that thing through a series of questions, and it's almost like testing to see whether or not by introducing that new technology or new system or process or cell phone or hardware or server, whatever it may be, I need to test it to make sure that it complies to the laws around POPIA, okay? And there's a whole approval process, which I'll take you through there. Your subject access refers to data subject access, okay? So for example, if somebody wants to have their information removed or wants you to remove the information from their databases, there's a process that the business needs to go through in order to manage that. You can do it manually or you can do it digitally using this section here, which I'll take you through. And then, of course, lastly and most importantly, is security compromise management. I think we deal with this every day around the world and in South Africa more particularly. You know, if somebody's cell phone is stolen, I think we will often forget that these things carry a lot of information on them. I mean, we've got our emails on them. We've got contact information. It might be linked to our company email address or company network on Office 365. So even if these things are stolen, we need to be able to basically log that incident. We need to report that incident to the information regulator, and we obviously need to inform the data subjects of that, okay? So we need to generate basically three letters, okay, or 3 documents, and it needs to be auditable. So without further ado, let me take you into that. We'll start over here because it's actually the easiest part to deal with at the moment. You will see throughout the system, you're going to have these little information bars, okay? So it makes it nice and easy for the user or the person that's working on the system. If they're a little bit stuck, they can navigate through the system. I'm going to edit one that I've got in here. I've just chosen a office break-in, but you will see there I've got a letter to the regulator, data subject notification, and an incident report. And if I edit this, I just want to show you where or how it starts. You'll see it takes me through a series of 9 phases or 9 steps, okay? I'm not going to go into too much detail in each one because I know our time is short. So I'm going to just hop through them, but I think you can kind of get the gist of the idea is that I'm filling out a form. It's as simple as that. I'm going to ask a series of questions depending on I've got these little switches, whether I switch them on and off, it will obviously change the questions or also change the documentation that I need to provide in order to manage this particular incident, okay? You will see throughout the system as well, we have these little pull down lists. Okay, so you can choose ones that are already provided, and then of course you've got the areas here. You can obviously, it's free typing. You can add them or take them out or whatever the case may be. Okay, all right. So once I've obviously gone through the entire sort of Q&A, again, here's a whole bunch of questions I can fill out. Again, these little dials. So as you can see, if I click on them, it changes the screen a little bit as well. So it's really, really user friendly. I think that's kind of what I'm trying to get to. Okay, I'm going to take you back here. I just want to show you. I've obviously already filled one out, but for example, if I do this, I can download the letter to the regulator. What it does is it already fills the document out for you. You will it'll have your logo at the top of the document, and you will literally save this PDF and you will email it off to the regulator. Okay. Now, a question that came up in one of the demos a couple of weeks ago, a question was asked to Francis, actually. They said, what if we don't follow this process? What if we don't send the letter to the regulator? let's say we ignore this thing completely. Francis's answer was very simple. He said, look, if the regulator is going to get bombarded with lots of these incident reports, no question about it. But he says, if they come to your business and they start doing an audit, okay, and you haven't followed the steps in the process, okay, the chances are you could get a fine potentially by not following that particular process, because it's still a requirement that it is auditable. So you can see I've got an audit, I've got a track record, and I can have a series of breaches recorded here. It allows them also to go back onto their data, their servers and their mail servers, and to go and find whether or not you actually did comply to that process. Okay. All right, so that's quite simple. It obviously does the letters for your for the people who were breached, the data breaches as well. So you'll download the letter. Sorry, I'll jump past that one. Apologies for that. So your data subject notification, I will download that letter, and I can email it to, it's just a nice short summary of what happened, just to notify them that there was a breach and that you guys are basically taking care of it. It's simple as that. Okay, and then of course your incident report, which is the last one here, as it's just a straightforward document without any stuff on there, but it just allows you to keep a track record of the incident and the questions and the answers according to that process that we followed. All right. If I go back to the top, this is kind of when you start off with your compliance journey. You'll see I've got obviously these shortcut keys, which I will use them just now. I'll take you through them. But the most important thing is making sure that I manage my compliance audit. So in each area of POPI, there are essentially 4 or 5 areas that I need to consider, okay? Ignore these ones here, because these are ones that I've added manually because they were relevant in this particular case. But for example, information officer, data subject notification, direct marketing and profiling, information use and security, HR practices are standard requirements of POPI to define. These other ones here, for example, I've added is anti-money laundering. I've added in Bitcoin, and I've just added it in here just to show you that if there are other areas of compliance that are relevant to your business, you can come in and add those areas for your own records, okay? And you can obviously manage that process. But I'm going to take you through one which I think we all deal with on a day-to-day basis, especially from those marketers that phone us for insurance, cell phone companies, etc., and also the banks. But here, for example, you can see my responsible party or person in my POPI program is Janine Smith. Obviously, I can reallocate them if I need to, but at this stage, I'm happy with Janine Smith. Okay. When I go into each area there, you can see visually throughout the system is that we provide you with these dials, which gives you an idea of where we are sitting in this regard. So I can see this one is quite high, and I need to understand why that 40% hasn't been started when we're dealing with prospective customers. Again, there's my information bar here at the top. I can see that Janine is still the allocated person in this regard. Again, I can reallocate this section to another person if need be. All right. And again, here you've got there's more information. So there's a little bit of background again, coming straight out of the legislation, which talks directly to direct marketing and prospective employee, prospective clients. And then of course your risk rankings, your low risk, medium risk, and high risk or normal risk. And that's just where I'm going to do my selections here. Okay, so now these risks that you're seeing here, these tasks, these are automatically generated for you out of the system. So you don't have to worry about setting it up. It's already there for you. All I need to do is go and have a look to see whether they're relevant to my business, number one. If they're not, I need to then obviously define, I can actually specify that on the right-hand side here, I can say, you know, this one here is not applicable to my business. So it ignores it, takes it out of the loop for me. Okay. If this one is relevant to my business, I can go into here. I can add in my own notes just to justify. Hang on, let me just type in there to justify any reasons. I can do that over here. I can even go in here. I can add any files once again to justify this particular area, to make notes that if there is an audit done, I've got the information in one central place, and it allows me to see what's going on. Again, you can see I've allocated this particular assignment to Jacques, but I might want to say, you know, I don't want Jacques to do it. I actually want Lebogang to handle that. And she needs to do this actually, let's make it for April, and she needs to do it by this week, Thursday. And I need her to review this every 3 months. Okay. And obviously, once I've changed this, what the system does now, it becomes self-managing. So as I go through my task lists, all the tasks where I've allocated them, the users will start to get emails. Okay. So the email will come up into their inbox. It'll say, listen, you've got like a whole bunch of tasks that are due on this particular day. When they click on view tasks, it'll open the system and it'll take them directly to the task that is relevant for them to deal with at that particular time. The user, once again, or the person that's going through these tasks can decide whether these are low risk or high risk items. If it is a low risk item, you'll see that straight away dropped it to the bottom of my screen. But if I chose this as a high risk area, if I click on high risk, it'll move it to the top of my screen. It obviously just makes it more relevant and I can handle it from here. Okay. All right. Again, like I said to you, these areas are, you can change them. We've just added these other ones in for just to demonstrate you can add additional things in there if you want to. Now, do on the system is trackable, it's auditable, it gives me a date and a timestamp of things. And this I do, and if I want to check, I can do it through my compliance monitor, which is essentially my reporting tool. You will see it's got a series of switches that I can switch on and off, or if I want to switch them all on, I can, and again, the screen changes. Or I can say, you know, just give me the compliance section where I was, make sure that you can show me all the notes that I've added, and you'll see what it does is it brings it up on the screen for me, and you can see the dates, the timestamps, and of course, if I've added any notes to the system, it will add those notes to the system as well. So you've got a lot of visual cues that it actually provides you with also. And also, again, if you need to report to other business units or areas, you have the option to download it as a PDF or as an Excel file. Okay. On that particular note, and I think this is quite nice while we're dealing with reporting and tools and stuff like that, we provide you with a bunch of different dashboard reports. So you have an operational dashboard as well as a management dashboard. This is awesome to give you, again, just that sort of helicopter view to see exactly what's happening in the business. I can see it by individuals. If I hover my mouse over there, I can see that Russell's not doing his job properly. Maybe he's been on leave or sick or whatever the case may be, but it allows me to manage that process. Okay. And again, as I go further down, you can see I've got my operators. It tells me that my operators, again, like I mentioned earlier, operators in POPIA is referred to as a supplier. And I can see that I've got 7 operator contracts. 7 of them have been signed. And I can, you know, again, I can see that some of them are still valid and none of them are expiring yet. Could we give you a little bit of contract management in the system as well? Start and end dates of your various contracts. It tells me also if I've got any information sharing agreements. And then also from our data mapping, it tells me here, I can visually see that we're actually doing not a bad job in our data mapping, that we're about 30 odd % we still have yet to complete. And again, it gives you a nice view of where you are. If I change it by section, for example, you'll see there's my different sections within POPI that I have to comply with. And again, if I hover my mouse over, it'll tell me there's a bunch of tasks that haven't yet been started. Okay, that's just the operational side. From a management perspective, also there's different views and graphs. Then some people, for example, have got different reporting requirements within the organization. So some of our compliance officers, they will take a snapshot or a screenshot of this, and they will insert it into their reporting tools that they currently use. Okay, and again, I've got all these different areas where you can see quite simply, and it's quite easy to work with. I can see what's going on. Okay. All right. I'm going to take you through this part here. I'm going to jump between governance and stakeholder now. We'll come to data mapping. The governance section is an important part, like I said to you in the beginning. It basically deals with my privacy notice and my employee privacy notice. These areas will get updated automatically depending on my data mapping. So we're going to come back to this area, yeah? But I want to talk to now the stakeholder communication, which is my internal staff. So I've got these 3 areas here, which basically we provide you with a whole bunch of policy documents. Whether you use them or not is entirely up to you. You can obviously customize them as well to your own requirements, but I'll give you an example. If I go into work from home policy, you'll see here, I can say use my standard template or use my own content or upload my own document. In this regard, I'm using my own content. And the reason being is that I might want to come in and add a logo. One of our customers, a Pack and Stack, they actually come in here, they put their own logos in here. And again, it's a free typing area. So I can come in and edit and change this document as I need to. Excuse my spelling. Okay. The cool thing is there, I can sign it off as well. Okay. Now, why that's so important is I can say this is relevant. So it is in progress and I want my staff to have access to this information. I might also want to have a document library. So where our policy documents and templates that we provide you aren't relevant, you can choose, let's take this one here. Okay, I'm just going to use this one, transporter flows and information. I can say, you know, this one's not applicable. Okay, why that's important is that when we get to stakeholder communication, it removes it from the list. So it's not relevant to our staff. Okay, but I can go in here, I can go to my document library, and you can see I've got an R&D manual that we've added to the system. And then of course, when I talk to when I go out to my stakeholders, to my staff, again, here's a series of checklists that I'll need to answer. Very similar to the ones that I showed you in the beginning. I've got a compliance area here, and this is where I'm going to come in and add my stuff. Now you can see visually, here's the different documents. If I hover my mouse over, it gives me sort of a little notice around the employee privacy notice. But you can see here, I can see that Jason has read and accepted these areas, but some of the other staff, Lebogang and Olivia, they haven't read those. They've been sent it, but they haven't actually read those documents. And there's all my policy documents that are in the system there. And again, there's my R&D manual that's linked to it. Okay, and why this is so important is that it is a requirement of POPIA for us to make sure that our staff, one, have been trained, they're informed of the impact that POPIA has, both internally as well as externally. And this will just help you manage that process, okay? To give you an idea of what it looks like, I'm just going to open my email. And I think here it is here, just to give an idea. This is one that we sent internally. You'll see it has our company logo. There's all the policy documents that we have. And let's choose one here. If I choose my work from home policy, if I click on it, gonna open it on my other screen. Apologies for that. There's my work from home policy. The user will just go through, read it. You can see there the changes that I made to the document. There's the other stuff that I added in, but I can read and accept it. It will say that it's been updated. And obviously then when I go back into my application, it will update my little green and my gold stars there. Okay. If I go back to stakeholder comms, obviously my checklists. Okay, so we've dealt with governance. I'm going to take you through how we deal with your privacy notice. You will see that your privacy notice, again, this is free typing area, so I can change it. I can add my own logo. What it does is, as this is dynamic, okay, so as we're updating our data mapping, so this document will obviously update itself accordingly, okay? And similarly, when I deal with my employee privacy notice, because my employee privacy notice, we also have to tell our employees that we are managing their personal information in a responsible manner. And what, you know, obviously it'll document it as we update our HR information within our data mapping, which I'm going to take you through now. The cool thing with this, both my employee privacy notice and my privacy notice, I can integrate this stuff to my website. So here you can see, I'm just linking it to Ernst & Young as an example here, but it's not live. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. But I've got a script that it will generate for me automatically, and it will obviously change as we update our privacy notice. But if I preview this, just to show you what it does, this is what it will essentially look like on my website. Okay, it will actually put that information in there automatically. Okay. All right. Go back here. You can add in other systems. For example, there we go. We were speaking about HubSpot earlier with the Moroccan team. You can see, for example, if we use certain systems to deal with certain workflows or CRM systems, we can come in here and put a brief explanation. I don't have to go into a lot of detail. It's really just to specify that we might use a business process to deal with accounts payable, or a check requisition process, or whatever the case may be. I may come in and define those processes. Yeah. And then of course, your POPIA manual, this is going to be updated soon, where you'll see your POPIA manual is very, very specific to POPIA, and obviously your Cybersecurity Act as well. So we need to update that. All right, this is the best part of POPIA. Okay, my data mapping. My data mapping is a key component, and it kind of is the heartbeat of your system. And once again, you're going to see we've got what we call data mapping for departments. So I've broken our business up into, or this demo, for example, into various departments. And again, if there are departments in here that are not relevant to you, it's okay. You can see they're not checked, but I can come in here and add my own department as well as needed. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is that for each department, I need to go into each department, and I need to then go and specify what data subject types we deal with. Okay. And this deals with part of your 8 principles of POPIA, is basically taken care of in this area here. So for example, under human resources, I'm going to say that we have contracting staff, and we have employees, prospective employees, some students, and we've got some volunteers. Okay. When I say next, all right, now it's basically the system on the left-hand side here. I'm going to go straight down to my human resources. There are my 5 data subject types that I'm going to be dealing with. Okay. So under employees, I need to now specify is that what information do we keep for our employees? So in this regard, once again, I've got a series of templates that we provide you with. But here, for example, I can specify that we do employee monitoring. We do employee management, performance management, and I think that's all I've got in this list, John. That's perfect. But for those reasons, I have to specify what is the lawful basis for having this information, and what is the retention period for keeping that information on record. So, for example, employee monitoring, you can see here it's got S11, but S11 refers to the different section within the legislation. So you'll see we deal with section 11 through to section 15 of the law, and the different reasons for processing this personal information. Okay. So in this particular regard, I'm just choosing that we have the data subject's consent. Okay. And then it's asking me, what is the duration? What is the retention period for that? So basically, I've chosen that it's until the consent is withdrawn. You'll see that if I choose something else, for example, so in this case, I'm going to say, right, it's actually in our organization's legitimate interest to have this person's information. It's straight away prompting me to say, right, what is that legitimate interest type? Again, I can choose different from drop-down list, or I can say, it's for employment data processing. And again, I choose the reason, and also I can upload a document if need be to specify that this is the legitimate interest in our business, and these are the reasons why. I can add in notes also to justify my reasons if and where needed. Okay. All right. Once I've completed this, I'm going to go to next. I'm going to go to my data collection, but I'm going to cheat a little bit because I want to go back to this area, and you'll see, just want to minimize those ones there. Okay. I'm going to go back to my employees. And you'll see I've got employee monitoring. You see it puts it over here, employee monitoring and employee performance management. And there it is there. What I'm basically doing now is I'm telling the system is that what information do we collect for our employees? Okay. And where do we store it? Because part of your information quality, or part of your 8 principles of POPIA, is the openness, number one, and also the security safeguards, and then of course your information quality. Where does this information sit? How do we process this information? So in this regard, for my special personal information types under my employees, here's my different selections that I've chosen. We collect their email addresses, we've got employment history, financial and banking details, ID numbers, medical information, etc., etc. Okay. I then can specify what special information types do we deal with. So for example, one of our clients is Empath, which we were very lucky to have them on board, but they deal with obviously a wide variety. They keep children's information. There are specific laws and regulations around how we manage that information. So in here, I can specify those things. So for example, if we have a biometric information for staff, which does happen nowadays, especially with the introduction of your CCTV cameras and things like that. Again, you can see I have my drop-down list where I can choose from the different sections of the law, and I can just say, look, we have the data subjects consent, and it'll update it accordingly. And also now what I can do is I can specify is that where do we store this information? Okay, now this is a great area. This is great because I can say, you know what, we have access control systems. We've got CCTV cameras. We store physical documents in a document warehouse. We've got information that sits on employee laptops or file and print servers. I can also at this point in time link it to my suppliers, i.e. my operator. So for example, Microsoft, because we're dealing with emails, I might have OneDrives or SharePoint, etc. I can link it to Microsoft. I might have Paula's payroll also, because obviously my payroll information might be outsourced to an accounting firm. I can also then go in and say, right, under information sharing, this is key critical because we are subscribed to headhunters. Headhunters are our recruitment agency. So we have a bi-directional relationship where we pass information between the two of us and we're allowed to use that personal information. So I need to ensure that we have an agreement in place that manages that process. So I think from this, you can see the whole idea of POPIA 360. This completes that entire process for you because you're managing all that information. I don't have to think about how the information is stored. We had a client yesterday that said, no, she's going to try and do this manually, or was trying to do it manually. When we took her through this area, she actually had no idea. She actually thought, well, she can just manually run it. But the problem with doing it manually is there are so many checks and balances that you need to go through to try and manage that process yourself. We've still got a day job to do. We still got a business to run. We still got our other areas of a business that we need to concentrate on. This gives you all the tools and that you need in order to manage that process collectively. Now, once I've obviously finished with my data mapping, obviously I'm just going to go and complete this. I'm going to show you what it will visually look like. So all those things that I've done now, if I go into my visualization, you will see it looks quite big. It's quite vast. Okay, don't worry about it. I'm going to collapse this and I'm going to break it down. So I'm going to take you through that step now. So under human resources, under my employees, you'll see if I hover my mouse over, it also gives me an idea of what the legal basis, what the retention periods are. And I can specify again where and how we hold that information. Okay. So that's quite a nice, easy visual cue. Again, if there's a reporting requirement, I can download this as an image and I can share it or have it signed off by the relevant departments if you work in various departments, and you can manage that quite comfortably. Another view of this information is my data collection. So you'll see same sort of map. All it's going to do is it's going to show me how we collect that personal information. And if I show you my ID number, it's specifying now we collect it face-to-face, we collect it via email, and we have an HR system that we use as well. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, now we're going to deal with operators. This is the operational side of the business as well. Your operators, like I've said to you, is your suppliers. There's your checklist. If I go in there, you'll see that the checklists are quite straightforward and quite easy, as I've shown you already. Okay, I know I'm going a little bit fast, but I'm looking at the time as well, so please forgive me. I tend to talk a little bit fast. Okay, we also have what we call operator contracts and responsible parties. Why this is so important? Okay, and we switch this area on and off depending on whether you need that feature in your business or not, okay, because it's not always relevant. So for example, if I show you responsible parties quickly, this might deal with, I used an example of private property or property 24 working with a bunch of estate agents, or it might be a sectional title management company that also works with different sectional title schemes. You need to specify with the processing categories, who are the responsible parties, who are the people that are actually managing all that personal information. And this just allows us to map that out, okay? If I go back to my standard operators contracts, I'm going to pick on my friends from Nashua because I used to work there, as you heard. Again, you'll see I've loaded all my operators up in here, okay? I'm going to edit this one just to show you what it looks like. So I will take on all their demographic information around the business. So for example, you know, how often does a contract get renewed? Here's my start and end dates. I can see my contracts ended there already. It might be a bit later, but you will see that as I put that information through, I can now download a template contract for it. Show you what that looks like. And all the information that I filled into the demographic there, it's going to be included in my contract already. Okay, so it's I always make a joke that it's only it's a short legal document. It's only 7 pages, which is short, I think, for a legal document. Okay, because some of them can get quite long. But again, it just really is there to protect you with regards to and the operator, of course, with regards to POPIA and how you're managing POPIA. Okay, so there's all the information there. Okay. All right. Yeah, so that's quite easy to deal with. If I go back to my, let's call it my information sharing agreement. Okay, again, there's my checklists, information sharing agreements, also quite crucial. The nice thing with information sharing agreements, and I'm going to pick on headhunters for now, because you'll see that as I open it, it opens my data mapping. And that's quite important, obviously, is that I can change anything on the fly here, and it'll have a direct impact on my data mapping too, because I might see something that says, oh, hang on a second, this is confidential correspondence, so I can actually mark it over here, and it'll obviously update my data mapping as well on the other side. Okay. And again, you will see it is very, very similar. Let me just go down to the bottom. I can obviously download the template contract. I can upload my own contract if need be, and upload the signed contract as well. Okay. If I've made any changes, I just click on save. It'll save those changes and obviously update the relevant documents. Okay. If I go here and I go down to this, okay, we've been through security compromise management. I'm going to take you through your data subject access. This is really straightforward, really. The nice thing here is you'll see that if I get in any requests from our website, okay, you will see it'll automatically come into this area over here, and it'll take me through the progress as we progress through the process of managing that data request. I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to go into my settings. Again, you will see your company domain will be put in there. There's the script that you'll give to your web developer. And I can preview that request and just show you what it looks like. You will see that there are basically 4 different forms. It's essentially one document. It's just different rules around managing certain information. So for example, what a lot of people don't realize is that as a business, we reserve the right to also charge to have information removed, as long as you notify the data subject the data subject who's requesting the information removed. Because as a business, we might have data that is scattered on various databases. So I might have one that's on Sage, I might have some information on SharePoint or AS400 or SAP or whatever the case may be, and it might cost our company there might be a charge to our company to have that information removed. Therefore, the legislation does provide us the right to actually charge to have it, as long as we actually just notify the data subject of that. But you'll see I'll fill out the form. It's quite straightforward. They can submit the form, or they can download the form from your website and then email it to the relevant department. But essentially what happens is that request comes in over here. If I open that area, you'll see it's going to take me through 4 stages, and just allows me to review the person making the request to have the information removed. It's really that simple. Okay, and again, I can evaluate the request. I can say it's rejected or it was approved. I can put in a note of why, when was the, what was the date that it was actioned on, and so on. Okay, so I can say this one was moved to rejected. Okay, close it. Okay, so it takes it out of received and moves it to the end of the line. Okay, all right. The last area before we get into the Q&A is just your privacy impact assessment. Like I said to you in the beginning, your privacy impact assessment, again, is just an area that allows you to manage when you bring in new technology or new items into the business. The requirement of POPIA is to ensure that we've taken it through a series of checklists, okay, to ensure that it is POPIA compliant, okay. So for example, I loaded this one this morning. So I've chosen here machine learning. If I open it, you will see that there are different, what they call a PI owner. I've set my privacy impact owner, I've set to Nadia. My reviewer is Janine, and Jason as the approver. Your owner can't be the approver. So it also gives you a little bit of stop gaps. So you can't sort of jump ahead of the queue. You might have multiple reviewers. So I can add Russell to that reviewing process as well if I need to, or Lebogang in that process as well. And I can also set multiple approvers if I need to. But the key thing here is just, again, the series of questions that I can answer. Again, your checkboxes that I can add in any new justifications for the reason of why we want to onboard, or why we believe that this is okay for us to onboard into our business. And again, it'll take me through a series of questions. I'm going to show you one here. For example, if I open one that's been, I should have opened that one, it doesn't matter. Again, it gives you the auditability of having the documentation that's there for you should an audit be necessary. There you can see there's the series of questions that it's asked me, the dates, the timestamps, the reviewers, any comments that were made on the system will be added onto this document. Okay. And it's a nice short 7-page document. Okay. And that's essentially it. Yeah, if there's any questions, then it would be great.
Wonderful, wonderful attendees. You are welcome to post your questions in the chat function. I just want to remind you about the Mentimeter survey. The instructions are in the chat function, so please also complete that for us. Thank you very much, Jason. It's a very interesting and timely topic. We have to stay up to date with recent developments. Compliance is absolutely key. We should rather be safe than sorry, especially when working with sensitive data. And I really found that POPIA and the systems that you have explained to us, it makes the data trackable, auditable. The templates can be personified. It can integrate with websites. So it's very user-friendly. I think it's very easy to use, whilst at the same time working with high-level data. It's easy to use, and it streamlines the capturing of it while making you compliant. So I think it was a very, very good presentation. Thank you very much. We enjoyed it.
Thank you.
We just want to see in the chat function. I'm posting a link there for the page that we've created on the Golden Key website, www.goldenkey.org. You can also type in the search button POPIA and it will take you to this link. Are there any questions from the attendees? Let's just give them a moment. If they have something that they want to add, they are more than welcome to do so now, and we will read the questions out. Also, the Mentimeter, please be sure to complete that. On the top of your screen, if you're logging in with your laptop, next to the 3 dots, which indicates more, you'll see the Mentimeter icon. You can click on it and complete it. Or if you're logging in from your phone, please go to menti.com and enter the following code that we've posted in the chat function, 65525584. Jason, I think you explained it extensively. I don't see any questions in the chat box, which is a good sign.
It's a
It
good
means
sign,
that they understand. Yeah.
Okay.
So from Golden Key, Southern Africa, we just want to say, Jason, thank you so much.
We appreciate it.
We really enjoyed this.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for arranging this. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Any last comments you want to leave with the attendees?
Yes, I think from our side, we're obviously very proud to be associated with Golden Key International. We would like to extend an offer to you guys and to your members, is that we will obviously offer you guys a discount on the portal, as well as the onboarding training. So we will waiver some of those costs for you guys to try and help, I think, SME business as well as corporate companies, just to onboard, because it doesn't matter what size business you are, whether you're a small mom and pop shop versus big corporate, we still need to manage that personal information. And I think this just provides you with that holistic view, that 360-degree view of your POPIA journal. I think it'll make your life a lot easier and obviously reduce your overhead costs. Trust me, when you're dealing with lawyers, we know because we deal with them every day, so we know what they charge. But thank you once again. We really appreciate your time very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Plus, you mentioned the legal document is only 7 pages long, which is...
Yes.
We thank you so much for extending that offer. I know the head office will communicate more information to the member. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and experience with us and availing yourself for this session. We look forward to networking with you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a lovely day, everyone. Goodbye, Jason.
Take care. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Attendees, as soon as you've completed your survey, you are welcome to leave this session. This recording will be made available on the GKA website for your viewing. I am placing the link in the chat function now as we speak.